Hello, and here is another video by Mr. Irvine. Today we're going to be talking a bit about copyright, Creative Commons, and the public domain. While this is not intended to be a thorough or exhaustive lesson on what these three things are and how they can affect you, it is intended instead to give you an introduction so that you're aware of what these things are and you have some starting points to dig in and learn more about these things so you can know how they affect you and your development. So without further ado, let's do a quick reminder of what copyright is. It is really a set of rules about protecting the developer or original creator of a work. The idea being that if I make something, I should have the right to profit from it or allow other people to use it. So that's my automatic right when I create something in the United States. You automatically have a copyright for something that you create that's original. Within educational settings, we are given a lot of range to claim fair use, meaning that we can put things into our products when we're learning or practicing things that we may not have a copyright to. The idea being, again, that you're practicing and this is really more of something that's happening for yourself than to be shared with other people. Where we start to get into perhaps problematic areas is when people start to take things that aren't their own simply by doing a Google search, finding a graphic they like, and then using it in a product that they plan to sell or publish. Now, in modern days, publishing includes things such as putting things online. So we can very easily publish things and run afoul of copyright laws. So copyright is there to really have some legal protection for the person who originally creates something so that they can also profit from it. That's a quick recap of copyright. So the other two topics here, Creative Commons and public domain, are things that help us understand how we can have access to things that we didn't create, but we then are still legally allowed to use. So very briefly, the public domain, there are a couple ways something can get into the public domain. One is simply through the absence of a copyright. If a copyright has expired, it is no longer valid. This could be, for instance, a work of literature that was published 100 years ago, and there is now no longer a copyright holder to the work of literature. In that case, that kind of material falls into the public domain, and anyone is allowed access to it. So that's a quick idea of one way something can be in the public domain. And our final topic for our quick introduction is the Creative Commons. The intent of a Creative Commons is people who are creating original works and they purposely are allowing some form of access to other people to be able to use their works. So if I create something, whether it's a digital drawing or a photograph, I can allow other people access to that piece of work either for any reason that they want to use, or I can apply some forms of rules to give people access without them having full control over my work, but I allow them to maybe do some alterations to use it as long as they're not making money, or I could even go all the way and say, go ahead and use this even if you are making money. So Creative Commons has several different versions or flavors that tell the person using the work what they're allowed to do. All right, so there we have a quick introduction into those topics. So what if you're interested in using something that's put out there using a Creative Commons license? So you can see here a quick search of Creative Commons, and this actually, one of the top results is the creativecommons.org. Notice over here in Google search results, they give me a quick summary of this based on Wikipedia. It tells me some information about when it was started, that it's a nonprofit. So by following this link, creativecommons.org, I can start to find out some more information about this organization. I've already got this open, so go ahead and open that up. And right here, their mission statement says what is Creative Commons, learn more about it. This is where you can start to go to dig into finding out details about Creative Commons and how you can use it. One way that I've started to put this to use is by taking advantage of search.creativecommons.org. Now you might notice I also have a plugin that allows my default browser to also search Creative Commons search. But if you don't want to have to do any extra legwork or find that plugin, you can just type in search.creativecommons.org and you'll be right here at this website. Okay. So what you notice this says is I can go ahead and type in something that I'm interested in having some media, and then I've checked both boxes that I can use for commercial purposes, and I can modify, adapt, or build upon. So that allows me the right to then, if someone has published using a Creative Commons license that says I can go ahead and use their work for commercial purposes, I can then sell the work I'm creating, can publish it. I'm also allowed to modify, adapt, or build upon their works. So I've checked both boxes. You notice that there are a number of different places you can go search, and I've chosen Google Images. At this point, then I've decided that I'm looking for things relating to energy, and I've used the Google Images as my source, and I can start to fly through here and look for some images that might be appropriate for whatever I'm trying to use. So maybe, for instance, this battery with the no sign is something that would be helpful if I was building a game or app that wanted to somehow indicate power that was still available, whatnot. But I'm not done here. Just because I've done the search using Creative Commons and it shows up on a browser window, I need to do more. I need to go back and find the source and figure out what actually they've given me permission for. So here's the battery. I've gone ahead and clicked on it. This is then what they had for tags that were associated with it. Here's the graphic, and I can then download this right from here. But the important part I want to focus in on is over here. And this is the part where, again, it is now the responsibility of someone like myself who wants to use this graphic to know details about what's being told here. So let me go ahead and zoom in on this part. Right here, it tells me when it was uploaded, some stats, but the important part is the license. It says public domain CC0. And I may not know what CC0 is. That's one of the Creative Commons licenses. So to find out more about this, I can Google, I can look through the Creative Commons site, but I happen to find this already. It says public domain tools CC0. And then this tells me what's going on with what CC0 is. I can learn more, and I can use the tool. Okay, so it's my responsibility if I want to use someone else's work, such as this battery, to due diligence and find out what license they've published it with. And then I need to be able to provide source of that. So if I was going to try to use this graphic of the battery, I would copy this link and indicate the license that the person had released it under, so that I could say, yep, here's where I got it from. Here's the license that gives me permission to use it. So then I've done my job as far as indicating the graphic was okay for me to use in my own creations. Okay. So to wrap up, one big thing to take away from this is realizing that ignorance of a rule or a law is not any excuse for breaking it. So it is up to whoever is going to use material, especially if you plan to publish or try to make profit from it, to find out who owns it and if they've given you the rights to use it. So back here at Creative Commons, notice I'm at the About section of the page. It gives us some more detail here. And this could be something you start to pursue to look into more information and finding out what the different CCs are, Creative Commons licenses, and how you can then even create your own work to share with others and let them have access to things. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it's given you a good starting point to learning more about the topics we've discussed.